think wanting to explore is a feeling humans have had for tens of thousands of years or even longer. It's that same feeling you get when you climb a mountain and look at the horizon. And it's that feeling of curiosity and awe in combination that's led humans to explore our world and also to try and explore and understand space. Because what we can understand, we can better protect. I'm Australian astronaut Katherine Bennell Pegg.
Katherine is the first person to become a qualified astronaut under the Australian flag, a remarkable achievement, especially considering no Australian was yet been to space. I'd like to welcome on stage Katherine Bennell Pegg.
So I'm very happy to be here today to talk to you about my astronaut journey and astronaut training journey. Would you like to hear a bit about that? Yeah! Yeah, fantastic. So I'm going to talk to you a bit about that and show you some videos. When I was young, I had the curiosity of an explorer. I'd like to look under every rock for bugs and climb every tree. I used to like lying on the ground and looking up at the stars in my back garden on the scratchy grass, getting bindies on my shirt. And when I got told by my mum that some of those stars were not just pinpricks of light, but actually entire planets, entire worlds no one had ever seen up close with their own eyes before, I wanted to go explore those. Now, having been a space engineer for my career, about 15 years now, it's also because I understand that space is so critical for society, for new medicines, for the way that we live our lives and look after our planet. This is me when I was in year 8. About 13 or 14, when I was dreaming of being an astronaut. And I knew it would be unlikely, but someone has to do the job. Astronauts are needed in space to make those breakthroughs for medicine and energy and to understand our planet better. So I thought, I'm going to give it a red hot go and back myself, and we'll see where things land, because no one should have their imagination for your life limit what you do in yours. But when I grew up, there was no Australian Space Agency, let alone an astronaut program. I knew becoming an astronaut would be a hard road, a challenging road, and a very unlikely one. What I learned was that to be an astronaut, you can't do it right away after school. You have to have a career in something else first. So I applied to study engineering and science, and even though I didn't fit the stereotype at all, there were almost no women in my class, I learned to get along with it, and I fell in love with it. A few years ago, after about 10 years as a space engineer, I got my chance to apply to be an astronaut. But I applied along with about 23,000 other people, which is quite a lot and quite scary numbers, but the thing is, so many more people could have applied that didn't back themselves to hit that application button. You know, becoming an astronaut is just the cherry on the top of a career you love anyway. There's, you know, as a space engineer, I love what I did. Being a space engineer took me to work all around the world on some of the most exciting missions I could have ever hoped for. It's brought me back to Australia, and perhaps one day it will take me off-world. So a spacewalk up there usually is 6 to 8 hours on the outside of the space station, and a lot of pre-breathing oxygen beforehand. And we practice doing this in deep pools because scuba diving is one of the only ways we can simulate the kind of movements to practice our missions on Earth. As part of putting those skills into practice, we do expeditions. So we did winter survival, that's a picture here, and on the bottom right there in my little snow shelter, where we'd be set out in the woods under really cold temperatures and have to fend for ourselves. But we can also go to space now as astronauts, and in the in-space labs of the International Space Station, we get to be at the forefront of identifying and solving some of the greatest challenges of our time. If you have a dream that is unlikely, don't let that put you off. Don't be embarrassed to pursue it. Acknowledge that it's unlikely, but enjoy the path there, and that just sets you up for a more impactful and fulfilling life if you follow a path that you love. My favourite parts of the astronaut training. The first is what's called a centrifuge. Who wants to be on the rocket and who wants to be in the fighter jet out of these two? What would you like to be, rocket or fighter jet? Fighter jet, all right. I'm gonna sit you like this. So if you're in a centrifuge as a fighter pilot, you feel heavy this way. But if you're in a centrifuge or in a rocket as an astronaut, you're launching to space like this, you feel heavy this way. So round of applause to Charlotte and Ari. Good, you can get up now. Good job. Is it fun jumping in zero gravity? Well, you have to be careful not to jump in zero gravity or you bang your head. But what is fun is jumping in Moon and Mars gravity. How about everyone stands up for a second? Just jump as high as you can. If you do that on the moon, you'll go 6 times as high.
I think one thing that surprised me and surprises a lot of others is how important it is for astronauts to be all-rounders these days. What helped me at school that I didn't realise at the time was the all-rounder aspects, particularly the extracurricular.
Like many of you like sports, right? I saw some good sports fields out there. And in sport, who likes giving it a go even if they're not the best on the field? Yeah, for the love of the sport, for the love of the team. Do that in the classroom too, even if you're not the best. If you find an idea interesting or you think there's a problem worth solving, just give it your best and amazing things will happen.
It's also equally important to work on who you are as a person, your character, getting along with people when you're tired and stressed in particular. So doing things at school or outside school like sports to be fit and healthy, or camping, or those kinds of outdoor activities are as equally important as schoolwork, to give it your all in many different ways. For those kids that perhaps are not STEM oriented, that's fine. You can still work in space. Space is a place like the ocean, right? It's an industry with so much breadth. You also need people that have critical functions around them, like space lawyers, space marketers, space media. You need nutritionists and fitness instructors for the astronauts. We need truck drivers and train drivers to help move the rockets.
About 60 years ago, people were walking on the moon. In that world, they didn't have the internet, let alone Instagram. They didn't have 3D printers, right? They couldn't have imagined the world we have today. That time from now, 60 years from now, you guys will probably still be in the workforce. How can you imagine what the world would be like then? What the job possibilities could be then? You just can't. But you can think about what problems you want to help solve. You can think about what kinds of things you might like to discover, and you can think about the kind of person you want to be when you're doing that.
There are compelling space careers with breadth right here in this country. We're seeing Australian rockets ready to launch from Australian spaceports. We're seeing satellites being launched from startups and our universities with new novel ideas no one else is pursuing. We're seeing school kids put payloads on the space station, and perhaps one day, I hope, we'll see more Australian astronauts too. So the opportunities are there for the taking and the making.
And this picture here is a special picture. Does anyone know what this is? Yeah, shout it out. It is, it's Earth from the moon, very good. And when this image was shown, when they came back to Earth, it was on the cover of so many of the newspapers and is thought to have sparked the modern environmental movement, which started in the 70s, because people for the first time realized collectively that we're one Earth, which is really important. So ultimately we go to space, not for space's sake, but to understand, protect and explore the Earth better. They said we went to explore the moon and instead we discovered the Earth.
You know, the universe is so huge. There's, you know, billions and billions of stars and galaxies out there. Our human mind can almost not comprehend it. And as far as we know today, we're the only conscious life in this whole universe that reflects on the universe. I've heard it said that at the moment we're the universe's only way we know of to understand itself, which is quite poetic and makes you feel small but meaningful at the same time.
Does anyone here thinks they might like to work in space or would go to space if they could? Well, that's great, because you all can if you work hard at it and do your best. Who's to say it can't be you?
You don't have to feel like you fit a stereotype to be in a field. There's a place for everyone. Space is for everyone. STEM is for everyone, and we need all kinds of thinkers and doers with breadth of experiences to identify and address the problems we have and the opportunities we have. Back yourself, dream big and then bigger for yourself, and no one can get in your way but you.
I remember being a kid, just like many of you, listening to Paul Scully Power and Andy Thomas, 2 Australians that have been to space before.
So if you work hard and follow your dreams, anything can be possible and you'll surprise yourself.
Thank you so much, everybody. Yeah, do you have a question? So pick a STEM thing you like. You want to be an astronaut? Yeah, and on the back it says Australian Space Agency. Oh, thank you.
I was like in awe the entire time you were speaking.
Oh, thank you. The kids are so sweet here and it seems like you have a lovely school. So you can have a family and be an astronaut, that's possible. You don't have to give that up. So humans have only been as far as the moon. We've never been to Mars or Venus. So we're really just at the beginning of exploring. So there's so much left for you guys to explore. I think it'd be great to have even more Aussie astronauts because we've got such great people here. Maybe one of you can be my crewmate. What do you reckon? Why not?